You didn't even tell your own sister you were getting married." The question came out like a slap across the dinner table, and for a moment, the only sound in the room was the quiet hum of the refrigerator. Maya glanced up from her coffee, trying to steady her breath. Her mother's voice carried that familiar mix of disappointment and disbelief, the kind that made her chest tighten even when she knew she hadn't done anything wrong. She had wanted this conversation to go differently, maybe even peacefully, but somehow, it always turned into a cross-examination when it came to her sister. Lena, 28, Maya had built a life most people would call stable. She worked as an event designer for a luxury hotel chain in Chicago, lived in a modern apartment overlooking the lake, and had just gotten engaged to Ethan, a quiet, kind man with that calm steadiness she had always craved. They'd met 4 years ago at a trivia night, bonded over the fact that they both hated small talk and preferred quiet dinners over wild parties. He was the first person who made her feel safe, like she didn't need to compete to be seen. But family was different, especially when the conversation circled back to Lena. Lena, 32, was everything Maya wasn't: radiant, unpredictable, and utterly exhausting. She had that kind of effortless charm that pulled people in, even when she didn't mean to. The kind of woman who could talk her way out of parking tickets, talk her way into exclusive parties, and somehow make every disaster look like an adventure. She'd been living overseas the past few years, chasing love and freedom with a string of boyfriends, the latest one being some entrepreneur in Thailand who promised her the world but couldn't even afford the rent. The last Maya heard, that relationship had fallen apart, like most things Lena touched, and now she was somewhere between jobs, continents, and life plans. Growing up, the two sisters had been inseparable. Lena was the wild one, the older sister everyone admired. Maya was the quiet shadow, the one who picked up after her, who stayed up late helping her cover for missed curfews, who took the blame when Lena crashed their parents' car in high school. They loved each other, but love between sisters isn't always soft. Sometimes it's a quiet competition dressed up as care. That's why, when Ethan proposed last Christmas during a snowy weekend in Aspen, Maya hesitated before sending the news to her family group chat. It wasn't that she didn't want to tell them, it was Lena she hesitated for, because Maya knew how it would go. First, the silence, then the critique, and then the passive-aggressive comments that would slowly chip away at her happiness. When she finally broke the news through FaceTime, her parents smiling, her aunt clapping, Lena just blinked. "Oh, congrats," she said flatly, then looked off screen like she'd lost interest. That was it. No follow-up question. No "let me see the ring." Just a hollow congrats from halfway across the world. It shouldn't have bothered Maya, but it did. It was like a cold draft sneaking into a warm room, subtle, but it lingered. Ethan had noticed, too. She didn't seem excited, he asked gently afterward. Maya forced a smile. That's just Lena. She's not big on emotional stuff, but deep down she knew better. Lena was big on emotions, just never anyone else's. Months later, Lena flew back to the States for a fresh start. At least that's what she told everyone. The moment she landed, she inserted herself into every corner of Maya's wedding planning. She didn't ask, she announced. "This venue feels basic," she said at the first viewing. "The dress, it's nice, but I don't think it flatters your shoulders." When Maya mentioned wanting chocolate cake, Lena laughed. "For a wedding, that's childish." Every critique came wrapped in a smile, soft enough to pass as helpful, sharp enough to draw blood. Maya tried to breathe through it, to remind herself that Lena was just adjusting. After all, she'd lost her job, her relationship, and her apartment in the same year. Maybe she just needed control over something. Ethan didn't say much, but Maya could feel the tension building every time Lena came over. She'd sit on their couch, scrolling through Instagram, sighing dramatically about her rough year, and then pivoting the conversation back to Maya's wedding. "You sure about the guest list? I mean, half of your college friends barely talk to you. Don't you think Ethan's family is a bit much? They give off that judgmental vibe." The words sank into Maya's mind like tiny hooks. She told herself to ignore them, but each one left a mark. Still, she didn't fight back. She never did, because that's what she'd always done, absorb the storm until it passed. But this time, something felt different. This time, the storm had her name on it. The night before the bridal dress fitting, Maya overheard Lena on the phone. Her sister's voice was low, careful. "Yeah, she's marrying him. Honestly, I give it a year. She's too uptight for a guy like that." Maya froze by the kitchen doorway, fingers trembling around her mug. For a second she thought she'd misheard. But then came the laugh, that familiar, airy laugh Lena used when she knew she'd said something cruel and didn't care. That night, Maya sat beside Ethan on the couch, pretending everything was fine. The ring on her finger felt heavier than usual. "Do you ever think," she asked quietly, "that some people just can't stand to see you happy?" Ethan gave her a puzzled look, but she didn't elaborate. She didn't need to. Not yet. The days leading up to her bachelorette weekend blurred together in a mix of deadlines, dress fittings, and Lena's endless suggestions. By then, Maya had learned to smile through every critique, every backhanded compliment, every "I'm just being honest." But under that calm surface, something inside her had started to shift, a small, quiet boundary taking shape. Because even the most patient heart can only bend so far before it breaks. When she boarded the flight to Las Vegas with her friends and her cousin Clara, Maya told herself it would be a weekend to remember, one last celebration before stepping into a new life. But she couldn't shake the feeling that somewhere, behind her sister's smile, something darker was waiting. And she was right, because that weekend, that glittering, harmless little getaway, would become the night everything fell apart. The laughter in the limousine sounded almost unreal, too bright, too careless for what was about to come. It was the first night in Las Vegas, and for once, Maya allowed herself to forget. The city pulsed around her, 1,000 lights reflecting off sequins and champagne glasses. She had promised herself she'd have fun, no overthinking, no worrying about seating charts or flower colors or whatever critique her sister might have next. Lena sat across from her, legs crossed, drink in hand, the picture of effortless charm. "Relax, little sis," she said with a teasing smile. "It's your last weekend of freedom. Try not to look like you're heading to a job interview." Everyone laughed, including Maya. She tried to laugh too. It almost worked. The night began harmlessly enough. Dinner at Hell's Kitchen, toasts to love and friendship, a round of shots that burned all the way down. Even Lena seemed normal, for once, attentive, fun, like the sister Maya remembered from when they were kids, sneaking into concerts they couldn't afford. By midnight, they were at a club inside the Venetian. Music thumped through the floor, the air thick with perfume and bass. Someone from their table booked a private lounge, and soon, a dancer appeared shirtless, smiling, charmingly ridiculous. "Bride-to-be," he called out, pointing straight at Maya. The crowd cheered. Maya blushed, hands over her face. No, she laughed. But her friends were relentless, chanting her name until she gave in. The dancer led her to a chair, grinning as the lights dimmed. It was innocent, ridiculous even. 2 minutes of over-the-top theatrics, laughter echoing over music. She thought of Ethan and smiled, imagining how she'd tell him the story later. He'd roll his eyes, pretend to be jealous, then laugh with her. It was silly, harmless, until it wasn't. Hours later, when the music faded and the group stumbled back to the suite, Maya's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. She ignored it at first, assuming it was one of the girls texting about food, but then it kept ringing, over and over. Ethan. Her stomach tightened. She stepped out into the hallway to answer. "Hey babe, what's his voice?" cut her off, sharp and slurred with anger. "Why is your friend sending me videos of you getting a lap dance?" For a second, the world just stopped. The hallway lights seemed too bright, the air too thin. "What are you talking about?" she managed. "I'm talking about the video Lena just sent me," Ethan snapped, with the caption, "Your future wife seems busy." Her blood went cold. Maya rushed back into the suite, phone still to her ear. Lena was sitting on the couch, scrolling through TikTok, her expression bored. "Did you?" Maya's voice trembled. "Did you send Ethan a video from tonight?" Lena didn't even look up. He deserved to know. Maya's breath hitched. "It was a joke, Lena. A stupid bachelorette joke." "Why would you? Because you act like you're perfect," Lena said flatly, eyes finally meeting hers. "Like you've got it all figured out. Maybe he should see who you really are." Clara stood frozen near the minibar, phone halfway to her mouth. One of the bridesmaids whispered Lena, "What the hell?" But Lena only shrugged. Maya felt something inside her snapped quietly, cleanly. "You've hated me for years, haven't you?" she said, voice low. "You just hide it better when people are watching." Lena smirked. "Don't flatter yourself. Not everything's about you. Then why try so hard to ruin me?" Lena laughed softly, a sound that didn't reach her eyes. "Ruin you? Oh please. You're still the family's golden girl. You'll survive." Maya couldn't speak. She walked away before her voice broke, closing herself in the bathroom. Her hands shook as she texted Ethan, trying to explain, trying to make him understand. But the more she typed, the less sense it made. The damage was already done. The next morning, Lena was gone. No note, no apology. Just a half-empty glass of wine by the couch and silence thick enough to drown in. Ethan didn't answer her calls for a day. Then 2, When he finally picked up, his tone was calm to calmed. I just need time, he said. You said it was harmless, but she made it sound like I cheated. Maya's voice cracked. Ethan, you know me. You know I wouldn't. I want to believe that, he said quietly. But it's hard when the proof looks different. She hung up before she started crying. That week was a blur of cancelled appointments and sleepless nights. Every time her phone buzzed, her heart stopped, half hoping it was Ethan, half afraid it was Lena again. Her parents called to ask about the wedding, and she lied through her teeth. Everything's fine. It wasn single quotes to. Clara visited 2 days later, holding takeout and guilt in her eyes. She planned it, Clara admitted. The video, the timing, she said it'd be funny. I thought she was joking. Maya stared at her food, untouched. She's always joking, she murmured, and somehow, I'm always the punchline. That night she sat on her balcony, wrapped in a blanket, as the city lights blurred beneath her tears. She replayed every memory with Lena, every secret shared, every laugh, every moment she'd forgiven too easily. There had been signs. There were always signs. A week later, Ethan showed up at her door. He looked tired, older somehow. I watched the whole video again, he said softly, and I realized it didn't look like what she wanted it to. Maya didn't answer. I'm sorry, he continued. I should have trusted you. She wanted to forgive him, but something inside her had changed. The laughter that used to fill their apartment felt out of place now. The trust had cracks that no apology could mend overnight. They postponed the wedding. As for Lena, no one knew where she went. Rumor was she left town again. Some said LA. Others said she was back with her ex overseas. Maya didn't ask. She didn't care. Weeks passed before the quiet settled in, a different kind of quiet. One without chaos, without manipulation. But sometimes, late at night, she'd still hear Lena's voice in her head. He deserved to know. That sentence lived inside her like a scaton, permanent, invisible to everyone else. She didn't tell her family what really happened. Not yet. They wouldn't believe her anyway. To them, Lena was still the charming one, the lost soul who needed understanding. But Maya knew better now, because that night in Vegas wasn't just a betrayal, it was a revelation. It showed her exactly who her sister was, and who she'd been all along. As she packed away the last of the wedding invitations, sliding them into a drawer she never planned to open again, a calm resolve settled in her chest. In a voice barely above a whisper, she said to herself, sometimes, the person who destroys you isn't a stranger, it's the one who used to hold your hand. Months slipped by, like dust gathering in corners, quiet, unnoticed, but heavy when you finally saw it. The wedding had been postponed indefinitely. Maya and Ethan were still together, though the word together felt fragile now, like glass resting on the edge of a counter. Some nights they didn't talk at all, but other nights he'd hold her hand until she fell asleep. Healing, she learned, wasn't a straight line. It was a circle you walked until your feet stopped hurting. And then one gray afternoon, the circle brought her sister back to her doorstep. Lena stood there with a suitcase, and that same tired charm that used to work on everyone. Her hair was messy, her eyes red, her smile stretched to thin. Hey, she said softly, like nothing had ever happened. Can I come in? Maya didn't move. The memory of Vegas, the humiliation, the nights of doubt, they all flickered behind her eyes. Why are you here? She asked. Lena sighed, dropping the performance. My boyfriend kicked me out. I just need a place to crash for a few weeks, please. It was almost funny how quickly history tried to repeat itself. The same plea, the same tone, the same expectation that Maya would cave because she always did. But this time, something inside her didn't bend. No, she said simply. Lena blinked, clearly waiting for the I'm kidding that never came. You're serious? I am. You'd let your own sister sleep on the street. I'd let my sister face the consequences of her choices, Maya replied. That's different. Lena laughed, but it wasn't amusement, it was disbelief. Wow, you've changed. No, Maya said quietly. I just stopped mistaking guilt for kindness. Lena's expression hardened. You're unbelievable. And you're out of time, Maya said, closing the door. That should have been the end of it. But Lena was never the kind to leave quietly. 2 days later, Maya's phone exploded with messages. Her mother, her father, even an aunt she hadn't spoken to in years. Your sister says you turned her away. She's homeless, Maya. Family doesn't abandon family, doesn't abandon family, doesn't reply. She had learned that silence, sometimes, was the loudest language there was. Her mother called next. She's still your sister, she scolded, her voice sharp with disappointment. Maya's grip tightened on the phone. And I'm still your daughter. But that never seemed to matter when it came to her. She needs you, her mother said. She needed help years ago, Maya answered. Now she just wants someone to blame. There was a pause, a long, heavy one, and then her mother sighed. You've become so cold. Maya's voice softened, almost tender. No, Mum, I've just stopped burning myself to keep her warm. After that call, she expected the gossip to fade. Instead, it grew. Lena posted vague quotes on Facebook, cryptic, self-pitying ones about betrayal by those you love most. Then came a selfie with the caption, "When even your own blood leaves you out in the cold." Within hours, comments poured in, strangers offering sympathy, friends condemning Maya without ever knowing her name. The following week, it got worse. Someone won prizes for guessing who left a 1-star review on Maya's company's Google page. It read, "This business employs someone who emotionally abuses her own family. Be careful who you trust." The review was signed under a fake name, but the phrasing, self-righteous, was unmistakable. Maya stared at her computer screen for a long time, the cursor blinking beside her open email to HR. She could explain everything, but what was the point? Her boss already knew the story, or enough of it to roll her eyes and say, "Family drama. Got it. Take the afternoon off." That should have made Maya feel relieved, but instead it made her realize how easily her sister could taint anything she touched. That night, she sat alone at her kitchen table, the glow of her phone lighting up her face. Every instinct in her told her to ignore it, to rise above it. But then she saw the latest post, a TikTok clip of Lena fake-ring music swelling behind her, saying she'd been abandoned by everyone. The comments were brutal. "Heartless sister, how could anyone do that to family? Imagine treating your own blood like that." For the first time, Maya didn't feel anger, she felt calculation. A quiet, clear kind of focus that only comes when you stop trying to be understood. She opened her photo album and started scrolling. Screenshots, group chats, old messages, evidence she had tucked away after Vegas because she thought she'd never need it. She pulled up the group chat from that night, the one where Clara had written, "Lena, why would you send that to Ethan?" And Lena had replied, "LOL, he deserved to know." Every message, every timestamp, every file, she organized them like puzzle pieces on her laptop. By the time Ethan walked into the room, she had 3 folders open: Vegas texts and social media. He glanced at her screen, then at her. "What are you doing?" "Documenting the truth," she said. He frowned. "For what?" Maya closed her laptop gently. "Not revenge, just clarity." Over the next few days, she gathered everything: screenshots of fake accounts, the 1-star review, even the phone record showing Lena had called her 21 times in a single night before posting her videos. Every detail mattered, not for pity, but for precision. Her cousin Clara stopped by later, visibly nervous. "She's telling everyone you ruined her life," she said. "She says you locked her out because you're jealous." Maya smiled faintly. "Jealous of what, exactly?" The chaos. Clara hesitated. "You're not going to post anything, are you?" "I'm not posting anything," Maya said calmly. "I'm presenting the truth. There's a difference." Clara didn't ask again. When the next family group chat came alive, filled with thinly veiled guilt trips and passive-aggressive comments, Maya simply read in silence. Her mother's words echoed in her head, "She's still your sister." But she understood something now. Blood might make you family, but trust makes you human. And Lena had traded both for attention. That night, she drafted a single message to herself in the Notes app. A reminder she read every morning for a week. "I'm not the villain. I'm the boundary she couldn't cross anymore." By Friday, she was ready. The plan wasn't elaborate, it was clean, factual, and impossible to argue with. She compiled a timeline: Vegas weekend, the video, the captions, the fake accounts, the review, the posts. No commentary, no emotion, just receipts. When Ethan saw the final draft, he said quietly, "This isn't revenge. This is an autopsy." Maya met his gaze. Exactly. As she hit save, the tension in her chest finally eased. For months she had been painted as the cold-hearted sister, the selfish one, the unfeeling one. Now, she was done defending herself to people who never asked for the truth. "I'm not here to fight," she whispered to herself, closing her laptop. "I'm here to stop pretending." And for the first time in a long while, the silence didn't feel like surrender, it felt like power. She wasn't planning to destroy her sister. She didn't need to. All she had to do was tell the truth in front of the very people who once thought she was the cruel one. The night before she decided to do it, Maya couldn't sleep. The city outside her window was hushed, wrapped in fog and quiet rain, but inside her mind, every memory screamed, every accusation, every lie, every time someone had told her to just forgive. She's family. She opened her laptop and stared at the folders she had built: Vegas, texts, social media. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't rage. It was clarity, the kind of truth that didn't shout. It simply stood there, undeniable. The next morning, she did something she never thought she would. She opened the family Facebook group, the one with dozens of relatives, the cousins who only spoke on holidays, the aunts who shared inspirational quotes, the uncles who argued about politics. She attached a single post and typed, "Since stories have been spreading, here's what actually happened." No commentary, no opinions, just the facts. Then she uploaded the files, screenshots of Lena's messages, the video she'd sent Ethan, the group chat where Clara confronted her, the fake accounts that had left the reviews. Each piece landed like a quiet hammer strike. Maya hovered over the post button for a moment. Then she exhaled and pressed share. Within minutes, the notifications exploded. Comments poured in like a flood. Aunt Valerie, "Oh my God, Lena, is this true? Uncle Peter, this is unbelievable. You did this to your sister. Cousin Eric, she's been doing this kind of stuff for years. I thought it was just me." The thread grew by the second, spinning out of control, but not against Maya this time. Against Lena. Her phone buzzed again and again. A missed call from her mother, then her father, then Lena. Maya didn't pick up. She didn't need to. The truth was speaking for itself now. By noon, Lena had left the group entirely. The silence she left behind was louder than any apology. Ethan found Maya sitting on the couch, laptop still open, her coffee gone cold. "You okay?" he asked quietly. Maya nodded. "I didn't enjoy it," she said, "but I feel ... lighter." He smiled softly. "Sometimes peace doesn't come from forgiveness. It comes from clarity." "Yeah," she murmured, "and I finally have mine." That night her mother called again. This time, Maya answered. "Did you really have to humiliate her like that?" her mother asked, voice trembling with anger and shame. Maya closed her eyes. "I didn't humiliate her. I just stopped covering for her." "She's still your sister," her mother pressed. "She was my sister long before she chose to become my enemy." Her mother didn't reply, just a long sigh before hanging up. For the first time in years, Maya didn't feel guilty about ending the call. Days passed, then weeks. The noise faded. Lena stopped posting, stopped calling. Family group chats went quiet, and then life resumed its usual rhythm. Maya started going to the gym again, planning small weekend trips with Ethan, laughing more easily than before. She thought maybe, finally, it was over. Until one Thursday night, when thunder rolled across the sky and someone started pounding on her door. Ethan looked up from the couch. "You're not going to like this," he murmured, peeking through the peephole. It's her. Rain was pouring outside, streaking down the glass. When Maya opened the door, Lena stood there soaked through, mascara bleeding down her cheeks, clutching a grocery bag as if it proved something. "Can we talk?" Lena's voice cracked. "Please." Maya didn't move. "About what?" "About everything," Lena said. "I messed up, okay? I admit it, but you've made your point. You've destroyed me online, everyone's turned against me, and now I've got nowhere to go." Maya's eyes stayed calm, unblinking. "You destroyed yourself. I just stopped cleaning up the ashes." Lena stepped forward, desperate. "I'm not asking for much. Just a place to stay for a few days. You have a guest room. I can help around the house." "I can." "No," Maya interrupted softly. Lena stared at her, rain dripping from her chin. "You can't be serious." "I am. After everything we've been through, you're really going to turn me away again?" Maya tilted her head slightly. "Again? You mean the last time you tried to burn my life down?" Lena flinched. "You're being cruel." "No," Maya said evenly. "I'm being honest." The wind howled through the doorway. Ethan appeared behind Maya, silent but solid, his arms crossed. He didn't have to say a word. His presence alone made Lena's expression crumble. "I've been living in my car," Lena whispered. "I'm freezing at night. I just need a few weeks." Maya looked at her for a long moment. Then she said the one thing that had been sitting in her chest for months. "This door used to be open for you," she said quietly. "You were the one who closed it." Lena's lip trembled. "You really think you're better than me, don't you?" "No," Maya replied. "I just finally learned where the line is." For a moment, Lena looked like she might fight back, might scream or beg or manipulate like she always did. But instead, she just stepped backward into the rain. "Fine," she muttered. "Don't come crying to me when your perfect life falls apart." She turned away, her figure dissolving into the downpour. Ethan reached for Maya's hand. "You okay?" She nodded. "Yeah," she said softly. "For the first time, I really am." They stood there for a moment, watching as Lena's shadow disappeared down the street. Then Ethan closed the door and locked it. When Maya turned around, she noticed the grocery bag Lena had dropped on the porch. Inside was a cheap bottle of wine, her attempt at peace, maybe, or guilt, or both. Ethan picked it up and raised an eyebrow. Think it's poisoned? Maya smiled faintly. Probably. They laughed, not because it was funny, but because it finally felt safe to. Later that night, as they sat on the couch, the rain still whispering against the windows, Maya felt a stillness settle over her that she hadn't felt in years. Not triumph, not vengeance, just peace. Sometimes closure doesn't come with a grand apology or a dramatic reconciliation. Sometimes it's just the sound of rain on your roof and the knowledge that the door is finally locked, not out of hate, but out of self-respect. Maya looked out the window, her voice barely above a whisper. Sometimes, she said, the cruelest thing you can do is stop opening the door. The words lingered in the air, soft but final, like the end of a storm. And for the audience, for anyone listening to her story, one question remained, hanging between empathy and judgment, between love and self-preservation. If it were you, would you open the door for the person who once destroyed your happiness? Thank you for listening to Maya's story. If it resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and tell me what you would have done in her place. Your thoughts make these stories come alive.